Hello and welcome to Press TV News Analysis. I'm Kavit Haghvai. In the United States, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has purchased up to 750 million rounds of deadly ammo, a purchase which the DHS has not given an explanation for. Could it be nothing more than a routine purchase? In this news analysis, we will question what reasons may be behind this purchase, given the Occupy movement in the U.S., the advent of the NDAA and the trespass bill, and the repeated cases of black killings, such as the Trayvon Martin case. We will also ask whether the U.S. has been inching closer to being a police state over the years.
These bullets are what the agents of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security will be loading their guns with in the coming years. The 40 caliber hollow point ammo are designed to do maximum damage to soft body tissues. The hollowed out lead causes catastrophic damage to vital organs compared with a normal bullet. They cause internal bleeding and wounds which in most cases lead to the immediate death of the target. The deadly bullets have also been banned under the Hague Convention of 1899.
Particularly the idea of hollow point bullets, because those are designed to make much bigger damage than a regular round, and they're not even allowed in military use. So you have to ask. The cops don't use them. The Army doesn't use them, and yet Homeland Security has ordered them.
Many in the U.S. are now wondering why the Department of Homeland Security, or the DHS, which was established by Congress in the wake of September 11 attacks, is buying so many deadly ammunition. Are there so many terror cells in the U.S. that the DHS is preparing to bust them all in a massive operation? Or are they anticipating a surge in criminal activities in the Mexican or Canadian borders? Some say as the U.S. economy continues to crumble and more people lose their jobs, America is likely to see a rise in crimes, and the DHS could be preparing for that. Others have pointed out that the Occupy movement in the U.S. and its insurgency against the U.S. economic and political system has alarmed the authorities. Mass protests against banks and big corporations could eventually get out of hand, forcing cops to gun down angry protesters. The purchase of an astonishing 750 million rounds of ultra-deadly hollow-point bullets has American political and civil rights activists scratching their heads and wondering who would be the potential targets of these bullets.
Well, that's the question we're going to be asking. Let me introduce our guest. Editor of Cultural Wars magazine, Dr. Michael Jones, joins us from South Bend, Indiana. From Code Pink, Tig Berry joins us from Washington. And senior editor of Veterans Today, Gordon Duff, joins us via Skype from Ohio. Gentlemen, welcome. Gordon Duff, let me ask you the first question. Why has the DHS, an agency that has limited need domestically for doing harm, feel it necessary to purchase such a massive amount of ammo?
There is no imaginable reason whatsoever, which is why this has become a serious question. The Department of Homeland Security does not operate a large national police force. They're only a small advisory force. As a matter of fact, it's a controversy whether they're even legal or not. There is much discussion about disbanding them. And as for police departments across the U.S., and we have thousands of them, they're all heavily armed, all have automatic weapons, all have military-grade weapons. This ammunition is of no use against body armor. It is of only use against unarmed civilians. And as it was mentioned, hollow point ammunition is designed to kill in one shot. 40 caliber is extremely powerful ammunition, much more powerful than our military uses. They only use 9mm. So there is no rationale.
Well, what about you, Dr. Jones? 750 million rounds of ultra-deadly hollow-point bullets and 40 caliber ammo. That's 2 bullets for every American. The video we showed just showed how it's deadlier than a regular bullet, in which it destroys human tissue on contact. Why does the Department of Homeland Security need them?
That's a good question. I don't think anybody knows why they need them. If they had the recent protests in mind, the Occupy Wall Street protest, this would not be an effective antidote to those type of protests. They would make those protests, anyone who would use a gun like this on protesters would immediately cause a huge reaction of the sort which is the exact opposite of what they would want to bring about. So I think that this is a sign of desperation on the part of a regime that is losing control of the minds of its citizens. When they have peaceful protest of the sort that they had in New York, and I was there as part of it, they can't deal with it. And so there's some bureaucrat who's saying, well, I guess we can't deal with it, so therefore we have to, and then they go to this extreme and make a bad situation worse.
Ty Berry, our guest there talked about the Occupy movement in the U.S. I mean, what do you think? This choice, this purchase, is it because of the Occupy protest movement and the strength that it has gained over the months that perhaps may be a reason for the DHS to have made this purchase?
Once again, I'm saying we don't know the answers to all these questions. But one thing I can tell you is that this is not business as usual. I think this rogue regime in Washington, D.C. has decided that its lamestream media cannot control the masses anymore, and it's resorting to more and more violent methods to control the masses. I think you're going to see an uprising in the American spring this year. You're going to see people that are desperate. They're out of work. They're losing their homes. There's lack of education. We're seeing them able to kill innocent 17-year-olds walking down the street. They just killed a almost 70-year-old man in New York who was in his boxer shorts in his own home, where they are going to use bulletproof checkpoints that can be set up at a moment's notice. We see right now pepper spray being used anytime they want, tear gas. They're using stun grenades on their own people because they're unable to quell peaceful, nonviolent protest. The people are going to rise up, and I think that this rogue regime in Washington, D.C. is afraid, and therefore they're buying weapons that most countries would consider illegal. And there is no other intent for DHS. Is only used for borders, it's used in airports, but now it's going to be focusing inward on its own people, and this is very frightening.
In addition, the NDAA Act and the trespass bill that protesters, in terms of protesters who are disrupting occurrences, acknowledged by the DHS as being a national special security event, and that will be charged with a federal crime to assemble in the U.S. Gordon Duff, perhaps these are steps being taken, and this purchase is one of many to deal with situations such as these two most recent laws to be passed.
Well, our last speaker brought up a significant point that the government is dependent on the mass media for the last 20 to 30 years to control the American people. The mass media no longer has the audience. The independent media does. We outnumber them 60 to 40 now instead of 90 to 10%. The mass media is dying. The government is no longer able to control the population through a series of press releases. Recent laws that were passed, NDAA and others, that are blatantly unconstitutional have gone totally unchallenged by any federal judge or prosecutor within the U.S. This is something none of us expected, that both parties would look toward a totalitarian police state, totally agree on it, that no law enforcement official, and we have a judicial system that is supposed to be independent, yet no one within that judicial system has challenged any of these unconstitutional laws. So we're very concerned, and apparently all of us here are on the same page.
And I'm putting the DHS under scrutiny here and under the spotlight, Dr. Jones. Tell us what you can about this another executive order that Obama has issued instructing U.S. agencies to prepare for the declaration of a martial law. It's called the National Defense Resources Preparedness, which instructs the heads of various U.S. agencies to be on standby from the authorization of martial law by the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. What is going on with this executive order?
I think you're seeing the government's fear of its own people. Another instance is the recent Supreme Court decision, a 5-4 decision. Justice Kennedy wrote the majority opinion allowing strip search of ordinary citizens who haven't been charged with a crime. Now, this is unprecedented. There was a man in New York who was driving with his wife. His wife was speeding. The car got stopped. He got taken in. He was subjected to a strip search. And that went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld it, and it invoked 9/11. Judge Kennedy invoked 9/11 as a justification for this. Well, this is across the board in both the executive and the judicial branches of the government. You see this fear of the people and these draconian measures being exercised against their own people. This type of sexual humiliation is now widespread in airports. Airports are places where you can be groped and photographed and humiliated sexually, all as an attempt to intimidate the population. Because I think, as the other speakers seem to have indicated, I don't think the previous methods of control of information and social engineering, they're not working as well as the government wanted them to, and so they have to institute new measures out of fear.
And we're talking about these measures, and it's interesting, Ty Barry, that the Occupy movement in the U.S. perhaps, maybe you could tell us, has propelled some of these to come to light. It was interesting to find out about an eavesdropping law that has been adopted by 12 states so far, which prohibits people from videotaping police actions without the officer's consent, with police having the right to arrest witnesses for recording police actions. So I'm trying to understand this one because it sounds like it's an attempt to stifle media coverage of the police conduct as witnessed, for example, during their raids. I mean, explain this to us. What are they asking for the average American to do? To tap on the police shoulder and say, you're abusing your position, you're doing something illegal, but could I tape you? Is that what is that what this law is saying?
Well, that's what they're trying to say. All these laws that are being created right now, again, are unconstitutional. We need to challenge these laws in court. Just today I was at the Bahraini embassy protesting the detainment of Al-Khawaja, and a man threw his shoe over the fence. It was a shoe. They grabbed the man. We started to film them grabbing the man, and they told us we can't film. Well, the law says that we absolutely have the right to film the police in their job. I don't understand why the American public is giving in at this moment to losing its rights. Mumia Abu Jamal, who is a political prisoner in the United States, who was just recently taken off death row, came out and said 10 years ago, none of these laws that we're losing, none of these rights that we're losing every single day in this country, these were called illegal back 10, 15 years ago. Now suddenly they're becoming mainstream. Police are telling us rules that you can't do this, you can do that, and we all know the rules. The rules are the people own the streets, we pay for them, we have a right to peacefully protest in this country, we have a right to film in this country, and we're going to reserve that right no matter what it takes. And that's why the protest movement, that's why Occupy, the American Spring, is on the streets every single day, protecting American rights, and we need to continue this effort every single day.
And of course, we're trying to understand why this has all come about. Gordon Duff, is it the natural outcome of George W. Bush's Patriot Act, his war on terror? I'm sure you're well aware of the wiretapping of American citizens by the National Security Agency and, of course, violations of civil rights?
The wiretapping laws passed during the Bush administration were overturned. I actually have on our staff at Veterans Today, 30% of the members are on no-fly lists, terror lists, or have been arrested at one time or another. That's of a staff of 150. What I have been learning in rumblings, and we're an intelligence organization as much as anything else. I'm an intelligence defense contractor. The chatter, the feeling we have is that these laws are being passed because the government is planning a new 9/11. a new attack of some kind, and they're preparing a response to something they plan on doing. There would be no reason for any of this unless there were something in the wind, and the only organizations capable of acts of terrorism against the United States are our own government. We have found every domestic terror organization in the